For years, John Cena was the face that defined strength, resilience, and an almost superhuman level of endurance. But today fans around the world are asking a question they never thought they would have to ask. What is really happening to John Cena? Because the signs that people are starting to notice are no longer easy to ignore. And while nothing official has been announced, the changes surrounding his life, his body, his schedule, and his relationship with WWE are quietly painting a picture that feels deeply emotional, and for many longtime fans, genuinely heartbreaking. John Cena was never just another WWE superstar. He was the symbol of never giving up, the man who showed up night after night, year after year, carrying the company on his shoulders, pushing through pain, injuries, and exhaustion without ever letting the audience see weakness. And that is exactly why what fans are noticing now feels so shocking. Because the man who once seemed unstoppable is now showing subtle signs that time may finally be catching up to him. At an age when most professional wrestlers have already stepped away for good, John Cena continued to defy expectations. But even legends are not immune to the realities of aging. And as he has entered his late 40s, viewers have begun to notice changes that were never present before. Changes in his physical appearance, changes in his movement, and changes in how often he appears inside a WWE ring. These changes are not dramatic enough to make headlines on their own, but when placed together, they tell a story that fans can feel in their hearts even if they cannot fully explain it. For decades, John Cena's body was his greatest weapon, built through relentless discipline, intense training, and an almost unmatched work ethic. Yet recently, fans comparing older footage to newer appearances have noticed that his physique no longer looks the same, not weaker, but different, more natural, less extreme, as if his priorities have shifted away from maintaining that peak wrestling form. This is not a criticism, but rather an observation that has sparked concern, because in the world of WWE, physical changes often signal deeper transitions behind the scenes. Along with these visible differences, Cena's in-ring presence has become increasingly rare, and when he does appear, it feels more ceremonial than permanent, more like a farewell tour than a full return, even though no official goodbye has ever been spoken. Many fans remember a time when John Cena was WWE, when his music hitting meant certainty, when his presence guaranteed a main event, and when his name alone could sell out arenas. But now his appearances feel carefully planned, limited, and emotionally charged, as if every moment matters more than ever before. As the years have passed, Cena has also been more open about the physical toll that wrestling has taken on his body, speaking honestly in interviews about injuries, surgeries, and the long-term impact of decades spent performing at the highest level. And while he has never claimed to be seriously ill or unable to continue, his words have carried a tone of reflection, a sense that he understands his body in a way only time can teach. This awareness has led many to believe that Cena is carefully choosing when and how he appears, not because he cannot wrestle, but because he no longer wants to push himself past a point that could permanently affect his health later in life. The WWE schedule is unforgiving, and the grind that once fueled Cena's rise is the same grind that has forced countless legends to step away, and fans are beginning to realize that even John Cena cannot outrun time forever. Beyond the ring, Cena's increasing involvement in Hollywood has also added to the feeling that a chapter may be closing, with major film roles, television appearances, and public commitments pulling him further away from the WWE lifestyle that once defined him. While some see this as growth and evolution, others see it as preparation, a gradual transition into a future where wrestling is no longer the center of his world, but a proud part of his past. The emotional weight of this transition is heavy for fans who grew up watching Cena rise from a promising rookie to a global icon, because his journey is deeply tied to their own memories, their own childhoods, and their own sense of nostalgia. When people talk about John Cena stepping away, they are not just talking about a wrestler retiring. They are talking about the end of an era that shaped an entire generation. What makes this situation even more difficult is the silence, the lack of a clear statement, the absence of a definitive farewell, leaving fans in a state of uncertainty where every appearance feels like it could be the last and every absence feels louder than words. Cena has always been someone who controlled his narrative, who faced challenges head-on, but this moment feels different, quieter, more personal, as if he is navigating a decision that cannot be rushed or explained easily. Age has a way of changing priorities, and for someone who has spent most of his life putting his body on the line for entertainment, the desire to protect one's health becomes impossible to ignore. Fans have noticed that Cena's matches in recent years have been shorter, less frequent, and more carefully structured, often relying on storytelling rather than physical dominance, a clear sign of a veteran who understands his limits and respects them. This is not weakness, but wisdom, yet it also reinforces the idea that the days of full-time competition are firmly in the past. The emotional response from fans has been intense, with many expressing worry, sadness, and gratitude all at once, worried about Cena's well-being, sad about the possibility of losing him from WWE, and grateful for everything he has already given. Social media has been filled with messages analyzing his appearances, comparing photos, and discussing whether his age and health are influencing his decisions more than he lets on. Some fans believe that Cena is slowly preparing everyone for a goodbye that will come when the time feels right, while others hope that he still has one last run left, one final story to tell inside the ring. What cannot be denied is that John Cena's relationship with WWE has changed, evolving from constant presence to meaningful appearances, and that shift alone speaks volumes. Legends do not disappear overnight. They fade gradually, leaving behind moments that feel more precious with each passing year. Cena's legacy is secure, his accomplishments unmatched, but legacy does not stop time, and the reality of aging is something every athlete must face eventually. As fans watch Cena navigate this phase of his life, there is a growing sense of respect mixed with sorrow, respect for his decision to prioritize health and longevity, and sorrow for what it represents for the future of WWE. The company itself has changed, new stars have emerged, and the landscape is different from the one Cena dominated for so long, making his potential exit feel both inevitable and deeply emotional. When John Cena eventually steps away, whether officially announced or quietly accepted, it will mark the closing of one of the most significant chapters in wrestling history, and fans know this, even if they are not ready to say goodbye. For now, all they can do is watch closely, appreciate every appearance, and hope that whatever decisions Cena makes are guided by health, happiness, and peace. Because after everything he has given, he has earned the right to choose how his story continues, even if that story no longer unfolds under the bright lights of a WWE ring. As the conversation around John Cena continues to grow louder, many fans are beginning to look back at his journey with a deeper sense of understanding, realizing that what they are witnessing now is not sudden, but the result of a lifetime spent pushing the human body to its limits. John Cena entered WWE as a young man full of ambition, strength, and an unshakable belief that hard work could overcome anything. And for many years, that belief proved to be true. He became synonymous with durability, often wrestling through injuries that would have sidelined others, rarely missing appearances, and carrying the pressure of being the company's top star without complaint. But years of that relentless pace leave marks that cannot always be seen immediately, and as Cena has grown older, fans are starting to recognize the subtle consequences of that dedication. Interviews from recent years reveal a man who speaks thoughtfully about balance, recovery, and the importance of listening to his body, a tone that feels very different from the fearless confidence of his early career. This shift has not gone unnoticed, and for many supporters, it signals that Cena is acutely aware of his physical limits in a way he never had to be before. The WWE ring is unforgiving, And even the strongest bodies eventually feel the accumulation of impact, travel, and constant performance. And Cena's acknowledgement of this reality has added weight to the idea that he is carefully managing his remaining time in wrestling. Fans have pointed out that Cena's training routines appear more focused on overall health rather than sheer size, suggesting a desire for longevity rather than dominance. And while this is a natural evolution, it also reinforces the belief that his priorities have changed. Each time Cena appears on television, the reaction feels more emotional, more reflective, as if both he and the audience understand that these moments are no longer guaranteed. There is a quiet tension in the air, a shared awareness that every appearance could carry greater meaning than before, and that awareness has transformed how fans view him. The chants are louder, the applause more sincere, and the emotions more visible, because people sense that they are witnessing the later chapters of a legendary story. John Cena's age has become an unavoidable topic, not because he has lost his ability, but because time has introduced new considerations that were once irrelevant. Wrestling at the highest level demands not only physical strength, but recovery, resilience, and mental readiness. And as the years pass, maintaining that balance becomes increasingly challenging. Cena has spoken openly about respecting the next generation and allowing space for new stars to shine, a perspective that further supports the idea that he sees himself as a mentor and ambassador rather than a full-time competitor. This role carries dignity, but it also represents a step away from the center stage he once commanded effortlessly. Behind the scenes, many believe that Cena's relationship with WWE is now built on mutual respect and understanding, where appearances are planned carefully to honor his legacy without placing unnecessary strain on his body. This arrangement benefits both sides, but it also signals a quiet acceptance that the days of constant competition are over. Fans who have followed Cena for decades can feel this transition deeply, because his presence was once a constant in their lives, a familiar symbol of strength and consistency. Seeing that constant slowly fade creates a sense of loss that goes beyond entertainment, touching on memories of youth, inspiration, and personal growth. For some, John Cena represented perseverance during difficult times, a reminder to never give up even when the odds seemed overwhelming, and watching him navigate his own limits now feels profoundly human. The emotional weight of this realization has led many fans to express concern not just for his career, but for his well-being, hoping that he is prioritizing health and happiness above all else. Social media discussions often focus on how carefully Cena chooses his moments, analyzing his posture, his energy, and his demeanor, searching for clues about how he is truly feeling. While these observations are speculative, they reflect a deep level of care and connection, showing how much he means to those who grew up watching him. Cena's absence from long-term storylines has further fueled the belief that he is gradually stepping back, allowing WWE to move forward while still preserving his place within its history. This approach feels intentional, as if he is slowly preparing fans for a future where his role is more symbolic than active. The emotional challenge lies in the uncertainty, the lack of a definitive answer about when or how his wrestling journey will officially conclude. Unlike sudden retirements caused by injury, Cena's path feels like a slow, thoughtful transition, one guided by experience and self-awareness rather than force. This makes it harder for fans to process, because there is no clear moment to grieve or celebrate, only a series of subtle changes that collectively signal an ending. Each time Cena returns for a special appearance, the excitement is tempered by the understanding that these moments are rare, and that rarity makes them precious. The WWE audience has matured alongside Cena, and many now appreciate the importance of knowing when to step away, recognizing that preserving one's health is a victory in itself. Cena's legacy does not depend on how long he wrestles, but on the impact he has already made, and that impact is undeniable. Still, the emotional attachment fans feel makes it difficult to accept that the man who once seemed invincible is now choosing caution over conquest. This choice reflects growth, wisdom, and respect for the future, but it also marks the end of an era defined by relentless effort and constant presence. As discussions continue, there is a growing consensus that John Cena's decisions are deeply personal, shaped by age, experience, and a desire for balance that was impossible during his early career. The possibility of him stepping away from WWE entirely remains unspoken, yet ever present, lingering in the background of every conversation. Fans hope that when the time comes, it will be on his terms, in a way that honors his journey and allows him to leave with peace and pride. Until then, they watch closely, holding on to each appearance, each smile, and each moment as a reminder of what he has meant to wrestling and to them. John Cena's story is no longer just about championships and victories, but about understanding limits, embracing change, and knowing when to protect what matters most. This realization, while difficult, adds depth to his legacy, transforming him from an unstoppable hero into a relatable human being whose strength now lies in wisdom rather than endurance. The quiet sadness that surrounds this phase of his life is balanced by gratitude, a recognition that few careers have been as influential or as enduring as his. As time moves forward, fans can only hope that John Cena's next chapter, whether inside or outside the ring, is filled with health, fulfillment, and the peace he has more than earned after giving so much of himself to the world. As the reality of John Cena's situation continues to sink in, fans are beginning to understand that what they are witnessing is not a sudden ending, but a gradual and deeply personal transition shaped by time, responsibility, and self-awareness. For someone who spent most of his adult life defined by constant motion, relentless training, and the pressure of performing at the highest level, slowing down is not an easy choice, yet it is often the most necessary one. John Cena's age is no longer just a number. It represents decades of physical sacrifice, countless nights on the road, and an accumulation of wear that even the strongest discipline cannot erase. Wrestling is a profession that demands more than strength. It demands repeated impact, recovery under pressure, and a willingness to accept pain as part of the job. And for years, Cena embodied that mentality without hesitation. But as fans now observe his carefully measured appearances, his thoughtful words, and his selective involvement, it becomes clear that he is approaching this stage of life with a level of caution that only experience can bring. This caution is not fear, but respect for the body that carried him through an extraordinary career, and respect for the future he still wants to protect. Many supporters have reflected on how rare it is for a wrestler to reach this point with dignity intact, choosing preservation over excess rather than being forced into retirement by injury or circumstance. Cena's journey is unfolding quietly, without dramatic announcements or emotional speeches, and that silence has created a powerful emotional response, because fans are left to read between the lines. Each missed event, each limited appearance, and each carefully chosen role feels like a signal that he is preparing himself and his audience for a life where WWE is no longer the central focus. This realization carries a sense of sadness, but also maturity, as people begin to appreciate the wisdom behind stepping back before irreversible damage is done. John Cena's health has become a topic of concern not because of confirmed issues, but because of the understanding that years of physical stress inevitably demand attention, and ignoring those demands can have long-term consequences. By choosing to limit his involvement, Cena appears to be prioritizing longevity, ensuring that his later years are not defined by pain or regret. Fans who have followed wrestling long enough have seen too many legends struggle after retirement, dealing with the lasting effects of careers that took more than they gave, and this awareness adds another layer of respect to Cena's decisions. His ability to recognize the right moment to change direction speaks to a maturity that goes beyond athletic achievement. While some fans continue to hope for one last full run, many others have come to accept that such expectations may not align with the reality of his situation. Instead, they find value in the meaningful moments he still shares, understanding that quality has replaced quantity in his career. Cena's legacy does not require constant reinforcement. It is already firmly established through years of consistency, professionalism, and connection with audiences worldwide. As discussions about his future continue, there is a growing sense that whatever path he chooses will be guided by a desire for balance rather than obligation. The pressure to prove himself has long passed, and what remains is the freedom to decide what role wrestling will play in the rest of his life. This freedom, earned through decades of dedication, allows him to step away without guilt, knowing that he has given everything he possibly could. Fans may feel the loss deeply, but they also recognize that clinging to the past can prevent legends from enjoying the futures they deserve. John Cena's story is evolving from one of constant victory to one of thoughtful transition, and that evolution is both painful and beautiful. It reflects the reality that even heroes must eventually listen to their limits, and that true strength lies in knowing when to move forward differently. As the WWE continues to grow and change, Cena's presence will always be felt, even if he is no longer standing in the ring night after night. His influence lives on through the performers he inspired, the fans he motivated, and the culture he helped shape. The emotional weight of this chapter is heavy, but it is also filled with gratitude, because few careers have been as impactful or as enduring. When fans look back on John Cena's journey, they will not only remember championships and iconic moments, but also the integrity with which he chose to protect his health and his future. This choice, though difficult to accept, ensures that his story ends with respect rather than regret. As time continues to move forward, supporters can only hope that Cena finds fulfillment beyond wrestling, embracing a life where his body is no longer pushed to extremes, and where his legacy can be enjoyed without sacrifice. The quiet nature of his transition does not diminish its significance. It enhances it, turning each remaining appearance into a reminder of what he gave and why it mattered. John Cena may be stepping away from WWE, slowly and thoughtfully, but the impact he leaves behind is permanent, and the lessons of perseverance, discipline, and self-awareness that defined his career will continue to resonate long after the final bell. In the end, this is not just the story of a wrestler aging out of competition. It is the story of a man choosing health, longevity, and peace after a lifetime of giving everything to the ring. And that choice, while heartbreaking for fans, may be the most powerful statement of strength he has ever made.